I'm Alan Weiss, and this is The Writing on the Wall. Hi, welcome back to Writing on the Wall. Today's episode is about history and Ozymandias. I'll get to Ozymandias later. For now, let's talk about history. You know, every generation thinks its crisis is the worst. Now, I'm not downplaying the pandemic. I'm not downplaying social justice. All these are vitally, urgently important to address, no question. However, every generation has crises. Some of us lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis. In my case, I was in high school. We thought we were going to be annihilated. We thought somebody would hit the red button any day then, any morning. Might have been Khrushchev, might have been Kennedy. That was a real crisis. We lived through polio, watched neighbors get carted away in ambulances, old-fashioned ambulances, because polio wasn't really treatable. So since we teach agendas in school today and not really history, the problem is that perspective is lost. And when perspective is lost, we tend to lose the best of history and repeat the worst. After the Civil War, Southern historians seized history. And they didn't talk about it as a lost cause in perpetuating slavery. They talked about it as a lost cause in states' rights. They wanted people to think the Civil War, or they called the war between the states, was about states' rights. It wasn't. It was about the economic basis for their livelihood, which was slavery. And the Civil War emancipated slaves. We're still living with difficulties and dealing with racism and problems to this moment 150 years later, but that's what the Civil War did. When you rewrite history, you lose the benefit and you retain the worst of it. Historically, we've come together in crisis. The United States after 9/11 is one vivid example. But even before that, there was a brilliant senator named Daniel Patrick Moynihan, and he served for a while as UN ambassador. And the Russians were attacking us, the Russians were criticizing us, they were threatening. And then they attacked us for trying to defend ourselves. And Moynihan, who was very literate, said this in French, which I won't attempt to repeat, but in English, he says, "Oh, we're such a wicked animal. When we're attacked, we defend ourselves." And that's what we've come to be. When we're attacked, we jointly defend ourselves. But not so much anymore. Looting stores, taking implements and tools to break into stores, and taking bags to steal computers and shoes is not social justice. It's nihilism, it's anarchy, it's chaos. There's a place here called Ali's Donuts, been here for 100 years, famous. People line up for an hour in the morning just to get Ali's Donuts. Now, I would never do that, but maybe I'm not a donut aficionado. In any case, they're famous. And they've always given a discount to people in uniform, police officers, first responders, military. There's a big National Guard base here. So the owner of Ali's Donuts says something I think ridiculously stupid. He says, "We're ending our discounts for people in uniform." Now, he's trying to support Black Lives Matter, and that's fair enough, but that's not the way to do it. So that causes a backlash. That causes a reaction. And now people are incensed because perfectly fine, brave, law-abiding officers, EMTs, soldiers now no longer get the discount. So his intent was good perhaps, but not his implementation. If you want to unfund the police, which is the phrase as I record this, then you better unfund crime. You want to redirect resources, fine. You want to put more emphasis here and less there, fine. You want to end chokeholds, end brutality, keep track of officers who break the rules, fine. But you want to do away with the police? You better first do away with the crime. Overreaction breeds overreaction. Bang, 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 bang. If you don't believe that, look at Trump and Congress. If you don't learn from history, we repeat the worst of it, and that's what we're doing today. Our history really, and I know some of you, especially perhaps if you're younger, won't believe this, but our history is about compromise. It's about legitimate protest. It's about understanding. It's about improvement. It's about looking for the common weal, W-E-A-L, looking to the preamble of the Constitution. But today we're tone deaf. We're rigid. We're polarized. And that brings me to Ozymandias. Ozymandias was a great king with a huge empire, but I bet you never heard of him. I bet not one person in 100 listening to this has heard of Ozymandias. And that's because when his empire crumbled, There was no memory. There was nothing left. There was no legacy. It just turned to dust. We have a choice today. We can retain our greatness, or we can be like Ozymandias.